You actually think you can beat me up?
Oh, try me, bitch.
Welcome back, everyone. I am glad you're here because today is going to be a very exciting chapter with a lot to talk about. So make sure to like the video and subscribe. Now, let's get into it. So we come back to Jachi meeting the Titans, and it's going the way I thought it would, with one of them getting obliterated. They now see him as an enemy, but their leader Gori, who is a son of the great chieftain, comes out to fight him. Jachi lets him get free hits in, but he was disappointed and seems to one-shot him afterwards. One of the Madalans, Uki, is back at the now-destroyed human base, cataloging all the information they found there, when he spots something coming towards him. It was the corpse of Gori, with Jachi following close behind him.
Haha! Man, I'm dead.
Jachi asks him if he was the one who destroyed his army, but Uki just brushes him off and tries to kill him with their eye lasers that do nothing to him, which begins their fight.
You actually think you can beat me up?
Oh, try me, bitch.
And I love how Uki gets stanced up for the fight. They seem to clash evenly, with a panel reminding me of stuff like Dragon Ball. And Uki says he does not know how to hold back, so we get to see the full might of the Madalans' power. I'll go over all of the moves that they use in the discussion section later. Jachi hits him and cracks his head, but also is intrigued by all the stuff he just did, since he sensed no mana coming from him. Uki seems to be taking him seriously now because he can't believe how strong he is. He creates a black hole-like object that starts to drag Jachi towards him, and then distorts space to make himself even faster, as he continuously hits Jachi. He then throws the gravity ball at him and releases space monsters at him, making him think he finally killed him. But Jachi just explodes out of the hole and takes off his cape, which makes his biological stats grow even more. Now this has to be a reference to Dragon Ball when the characters take off their weighted clothes, or it may be a reference to Bleach because his cape was eating his mana, like Kenpachi's eye patch. Jachi then just sucks in the air around him, forcing Uki to come towards him. And after one attack, he immediately realizes that he is in danger and tries to escape to contact the other Madalans, but Jachi easily catches up to him. We cut over to the Madalans' mothership, with all the team leaders sharing their information on the different natural enemies they have met. I will also analyze their conversation later, but they get onto the demons and say that they are not a threat, as we see Uki getting the shit beat out of him, even breaking open his head, and we see that there seems to be a ball of light inside of it. Jachi just continues to pummel him and asks him, how is he going to survive this? Wait! He then air punches him and says, you did those flurry of attacks before, let me see if I can do it.
Help me! Oh my god!
Jachi is excited that beings on this level are now around, but Uki gets up again, transforming into a muscled up form to keep fighting.
Can't take this shit no more, man.
But he then gets donutted, finally killing him by a new being entering the fight. Then a new opponent being Gimbak, the chieftain of all the Titans, and he is pissed someone killed his son, ending the chapter with Jachi saying that he is a real enemy.
On the next Dragon Ball Z!
So first, we gotta talk about Jachi. He just keeps getting cooler the more we see him. And he gave us a more of a gauge where the Demon Lords are on the power scale ranking, even though we still haven't seen his full power yet. If I had to say the difficulty of his fight against Uki, it was a low to mid diff, where Jachi got a good workout in and seemed to be having fun, with only getting some scuffs and scratches on him. We also got to see his insane power with him being able to just suck in Uki with his breath alone, most likely enhanced by magic. And my favorite pages were him doing the air punches on Uki. It seems he is going to be our main character on the demon side of things, since Kiva is officially dead in this chapter. And it was a nice detail that he did get angry once he saw that Kiva died. Now onto the Madalan side of things, and I just feel bad for Uki because he just got massacred. Before we get onto the moves and stuff, I want to talk about the species/faction, since we got a great amount of information on them. Like they have been saying, they want to control and catalog planets, finding and researching all the different beings they find on them. And with how arrogant they are, they have never really run into much of a challenge until this point. And they have done so much that humanity is not much of a problem or of interest to them. Now getting into their meeting this chapter, let's go through each natural enemy and see if I agree with their assessment. Robots, they see them as no threat since they are an advanced form of Earthling technology. They seem to be just brushing them off because they are of Earth origin. And of what we have seen so far, they can't take down a Madalan yet, but they will start to incorporate the other world's tech. And if they get their hands on a Madalan body, they could start reverse engineering them. Speaking of their bodies, they do mention that the body Uki was in was a surveillance body, so they can switch out to different bodies for different tasks. And I did notice this before, but when they are in the meeting, none of them have bodies, they are just floating heads. Now their assessment on the neo-humans and the lawless humans, I am pretty much in agreement with. I am sure the neo-humans have some tricks up their sleeves, but I can't see them being a major threat to them right now. Now speaking of Daikoku-san, they do see him as a threat, and have to actually plan out an attack on him. So I do agree with them on that. Parasites they designate as not a threat, since they cannot infiltrate their bodies. But I do have to disagree a little, since they may be able to infect their ships since they seem to be fleshy on the inside. I would agree with the Titan claim if it wasn't for the end of this chapter having Ginbag come in, because I don't see any of his sons being able to beat a Madalan, but Ginbag is most likely stronger than Jachi, so he is the one threat of the Titans. Nature from Gaia's Wrath is pending, since the members haven't come back yet. But I would have to say that yes, it is a threat, since I could see the apex creatures from each forest being able to hurt or kill the Madalans. And then we saw the threats that the demons pose this chapter, with them having 47 threats on the same level as Jachi, and even greater threat in the Great Demon King Byakuo. Now getting past all of their assessments, another thing I noticed was when they are having their meeting, there are 7 podiums they are floating on, and they are all numbered with dots. If we assume there are 7 teams with 4 members each, that would mean that there are 28 Madalans in total, with Uki now being dead, along with the maybe 2 others of the Madalans that went into the nature, which would mean they have lost 11% of their people in the early game of the worlds being fused, which should be cause for concern. And the final thing I want to talk about with them are their moves and abilities that Uki showcased this chapter. So talking about the body itself, it is elastic and malleable, but when it is destroyed, we see the same type of tech we see on their ship. So it is more like cloth or some kind of bodysuit that conceals more tech under it. Now going over the abilities we already know about, the Pew Pew being laser eyes and the Zap Zap being electricity. Splash Splash seems to just be a highly concentrated water cutter blast. Foosh Foosh I think is a fire attack, as we see it vaporizing the water he just shot. Next is Boom Boom, which seems to be a form of flash step if anyone knows Bleach. A technique to quickly move for an instant, and he used it to get some space from Jachi. And another time I didn't notice before, when he was in his Shinra form, to completely flee from Jachi. Now from this point, it transforms from its base state to its Shinra form. Now, the name itself actually does, of course, relate to the Madalans. Shin, meaning God, Almighty, or Divine, with Ra, meaning silk covering. There is also a 4-character idiom in Japanese called Shinra Bansho, which means to encompass everything in the universe. So by transforming into this form, he is basically getting serious, since he had a basic form of encompassing nature in his base form, but in the Shinra form, he can now manipulate time and space through gravity. And we see this by him making a pseudo black hole. And I call it pseudo because I don't think it is a genuine black hole, because one of that size would obliterate the Earth in moments. But through it, he was able to pull Jachi towards him and manipulate space to make himself faster. And then to finish him off, he threw it at Jachi, probably hoping it would tear his cells apart. He then releases what he calls space monsters, which I speculate, like the spaceships they use, are either other species they enslaved or just species they created themselves. And now, since the combo didn't work, he seemed to create a white hole, which is just a hypothetical to repel Jachi and make some space for him to run away. And we only see it, but his bronze form is basically a last resort tactic of Uki to try to out-muscle Jachi, which definitely was not going to work, but was basically a cornered animal trying to do anything to survive at that point. And the last thing I want to talk about is what they exactly are. We see once Uki gets his head broken open, they seem to be light beings or conscious forms of energy that have made bodies for themselves or somehow evolved into this. And Uki was in a way bleeding out when he transformed into his bronze form, and the stuff leaking out of his body isn't his blood per se, but the fuel leaking out of the main parts that are under the body covering. Man, I didn't think I'd be writing so much about them, but here I am. Now we should move on to the last ones on the list, being the Titans. The basic ones basically get no-diffed by Jachi, with the same being said about Gori, one of the 100 sons of Ginbak. He was honestly a disappointment since we didn't get to see his drumming form. And I remember when these chapters were coming out, I and a few other people thought he was going to get back up and fight. Sadly, we were disappointed.
Man, I'm dead.
But seeing Ginbak this early is really hype, but is also worrying for the Titans, since they are the first faction to reveal their one-above-all character in their universe. But either way, I am definitely excited to see what he is going to do next. So that was a longer than expected video, but I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to go check out my playlist for the series, where I have all my other chapter reviews for the series. And like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe to see my videos as soon as they are done. With all that done, I will see you guys later. Bye guys.